Leaves behind a path of destruction in Barrie.
He said, get in the basement right now. So we did, and not even 30 seconds after we got into the basement, we could hear the tornado was above us.
Catastrophic damage and several injuries are reported in the communities north of Toronto as it begins to clean up.
We looked out, heard it was a boat crash, and we saw the one boat capsize.
A second body has been recovered after a boat crash in Ontario's cottage country just outside of Muskoka. Plus,
it's going to be a little weird, but I think everyone understands the opportunity to see live music. They're going to be okay with it.
Prepping for more patrons, the province moving to step 3 of reopening at midnight. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. We begin in Barrie, where a tornado touched down this afternoon, causing extensive damage to homes and injuring several people. Let's go live now to Dahlia Ashry, who is in Barrie. Dahlia, much damage, but fortunately and incredibly, no loss of life.
That's right, Kelda. Police say everyone has been accounted for, but they are doing a secondary search tonight to make sure. What we do know so far is that 8 people have been injured and 4 were hospitalized. And of course, when the tornado swept through, it's been a really emotional day for many residents I spoke with. There's been extensive damage. Roofs have been torn off of homes, down power lines, and also broken gas. Now, what we do know is that many people are still in shock and trying to process what happened and are trying to figure out what's next.
I don't have a home anymore.
Devastated and traumatized, Amanda Lowney, like many other residents in Barrie, now left without a home, facing the reality of destruction and dismay after a tornado swept through the city, tearing roofs off of homes, destroying fences, and flipping vehicles. Lowney and her family are safe. She was at work when her neighbor broke to her the news.
To come home, that there's been some damage and I need to call her. She wanted to speak to me, not just text it, and to come home right away.
Lee Albert and Azelle Robertson are still trying to process what happened.
We're still kind of in shock.
They weren't home when the tornado hit, and thankfully their family is safe. They have been unable to go back to their home to assess the damage.
There's a lot of devastation right around us. We're luckier that we weren't as hard hit.
8 people were injured, and a triage is now set up at this school. Barrie Police and County are working together to ensure everyone is safe.
We have set up our triage at the St. Gabriel School on the Prince William Way location. And paramedics will remain there all night in case they can support the ongoing work of the first responders at the scene, and they will be there should anyone need their help. Otherwise, we'll remain at the end of the 911 call.
Lowney doesn't know what's next for her family, but she is grateful they're all safe, including the smallest member of the family.
She was home and she was sleeping where she shouldn't be sleeping, and on top of my daughter's bed, and the windows all got blown open and there was such damage there that she was extremely shaken. But when I just unlocked the front door and called her, she came right away.
25 homes have been damaged and 3 completely demolished. What we know tonight is that 1,000 homes will be without power overnight, and police are asking people to stay off the streets unless they need to be going home, just to make sure they're safe. Now, a lot of the areas are also closed off, as you can see behind me, and just to ensure that police have the time to go home to home and make sure everyone is safe.
Dahlia, for those who can't return home tonight, where are they staying?
Kelda, many people I spoke with today say that fortunately for them, they're able to stay with family or friends. But for those who can't, there is an area that is set up, which is a St. Gabriel Archangel Catholic School. It's a command center and triage.
Thank you so much, Dahlia. That's our Dahlia Ashry live in Barrie tonight.
Thank you.
Let's go to meteorologist Nick Cernkovich now. And Nick, as we just saw, extensive damage in Barrie. Thankfully, no lives lost. Tell us more about the system that brought all this on.
Well, Kelda, earlier this afternoon, we were tracking a couple cells or thunderstorms that were moving just south of the Barrie area. And sometimes when you look at a radar image, it's pretty clear that there's severe weather. And in this case, it was. Environment Canada issued tornado warnings with this minutes before the actual tornado had touched down. And it was these two cells that we were watching. And actually, when you looked at the radar, you could see rotation within the thunderstorm itself. The question was whether it was producing a tornado or not, but we saw via social media that in fact there was a tornado with this particular storm system. So two cells that moved across that triggered tornado warnings across the region. Now that whole band of showers and thunderstorms is sliding south through the GTA. Still looking at some thunder showers across the region tonight, but as we move into tomorrow, really just looking at cloud cover, a few spits and spots of showers down around the Niagara region for tomorrow, and more rain on the way for Saturday. In the near term though, here's what it looks like: 18 degrees tonight, and again ending thunderstorms tomorrow. Cloud cover, 30% chance of showers, 25 and less in the way of humidity. Kelda.
Thanks, Nick. In less than an hour, Ontario will move into step 3 of its reopening plan. That means many activities that have been off limits for months will be returning, from sporting events to concerts. And if you're like me, itching to catch a movie on the big screen, theaters will be welcoming patrons again. Jessica Ng has more on all the preparations.
Preparations are underway at BMO Field for the first game at home in what feels like forever.
It's pretty awesome. We're working together as a big team here.
Logan Ridge is part of a crew brought in from Acton. He says they're hustling hard to add hot tubs to change rooms and make sure everything is ready for the big game on Saturday.
Hopefully we can get as much as we can done today and then, kind of relax and get ready to watch the game if we can.
That's a vicious swing. Wow.
But even Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s hot bat at this week's All-Star game couldn't reopen the Rogers Centre for Step 3 yet. The Blue Jays have been starting to get a feeler from their season ticket holders as health authorities determine when the team will return home.
It's trending in a very good direction at this point. We're looking at sort of, I would say last details.
And that's all? That's it. If you're craving the big screen, you'll also be able to get your fix. Movie theaters are allowed to operate at 50% capacity, and you'll soon see concerts starting up.
Of course, that we can now open the front bar of the Horseshoe and the live room to 50%. But keep in mind, number one, usually you need about a 6-week cycle to book any band, so nobody's booked.
The co-owner of the Horseshoe Tavern says the first show will be Birds of Bellwoods next Friday. But you can still stop by for a drink, indoors or outdoors. If you're looking for something bigger,
well, this is the beginning of Great Wales, up close and personal.
The Royal Ontario Museum says it has been preparing this exhibit for 2 years, but plans were complicated by the pandemic.
The crews, when you're installing the exhibit, all have to come in. They can't come in. They have to come in sequence. They can't all be here and working in the space at the same time.
It's the first time since November they've been able to open. And if you want to visit, you should book online ahead of time. You can walk in if there's space.
We're allowed to have up to 25 people in a group.
And a max of 3,000 guests in the building.
So that if you have a larger group, we're asking that you book tickets separately so you can safely go to different parts and then meet up.
With so many new options for activities in Step 3, health officials say we should try to keep it outdoors as much as possible.
Let's be careful. People just need to be aware of that. The ideal is that we just stick to outdoor places as much as we can.
Here at BMO Field, preparations have been non-stop for Saturday's game against Orlando City. But all this preparation, it's not just for TFC. The Argos will start their season here at BMO Field on August 7th. Until then, there's lots of fun activities that you can still take in with the Step 3 reopening. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
Ahead of the reopening, City Council has voted to repeal some of the bylaws implemented during the pandemic. That includes the rule mandating 2 meters of physical distancing in parks and public spaces. Additional measures for food and drink establishments are also being wiped away. The city says risk of transmission in outdoor places remains lower, allowing for the bylaws to be repealed. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the country may start easing restrictions for travelers to come into Canada before the end of the summer. The Prime Minister held a call with premiers this evening. Trudeau discussed opening the border to fully vaccinated travelers by September. Fully vaccinated U.S. citizens could start entering the country for non-essential travel by mid-August. The PMO says ministers were supportive of the plan, and more details will be released next week. There is a growing debate in the province about whether COVID-19 vaccinations should be mandatory for healthcare workers. Premier Doug Ford has now come out firmly against the idea. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has the story.
The very first people in Ontario to receive a COVID-19 vaccination were long-term care staff. Since then, thousands more health workers have got the shot, but that's not the case for everyone working in the system. It means if you're a hospital patient or a long-term care resident, there's no guarantee that the people taking care of you are actually vaccinated.
Especially in a hospitalized setting or a long-term care setting. But quite frankly, if you are patient-facing, you should be vaccinated for COVID-19, full stop. You should be. We cannot put the people we're there to help at risk. It's just unacceptable.
Mandatory vaccinations for certain jobs are not a new thing. In Ontario, paramedics and childcare workers must be immunized against a whole range of communicable diseases or get an official exemption. So should Ontario also require health workers to be vaccinated against COVID-19? This top nursing official thinks so.
It is our duty to do no harm to patients. We know what we need to do to protect patients.
This week in France, President Emmanuel Macron announced that healthcare workers must get vaccinated or face job sanctions. Other European countries have made similar rules.
1, 2, 3.
Here in Ontario, the Premier is against mandating COVID vaccinations for health workers.
No, I think it's their constitutional right to take it or not take it. We encourage them to do it. I've been up here for months begging, pleading everyone to get it, but no one should be forced to do anything.
The opposition leader isn't convinced either.
That I would need to have real evidence and advice that indicates that that's the next step that would be required.
CBC News obtained a policy proposal drafted this month for the Ontario government. It would let healthcare workers choose not to get vaccinated so long as they wear PPE and get tested regularly. With Doug Ford's comments today, it appears the province won't even go that far. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
The body of a second victim of a boat crash was recovered from Lake Eraso in the Muskoka region this afternoon. The 51-year-old woman was from Oakville. A 13-year-old girl also died in the crash, which left several others injured. Dale Benukduk has more.
The crash happened around 7:30 last night, 400 meters off the dock.
Just got video and text.
Mackenzie and Caitlin Bean live just up the street from Windermere Marina.
We looked out, heard it was a boat crash, and we saw the one boat capsize. And police out there, and we also have family friends that were told to shoot out there with boats and to go look.
This is video provided by the sisters. Local officers responded along with Muskoka EMS, Muskoka Lakes Fire Department, the OPP Marine Unit, the OPP Underwater Search and Recovery Unit, and OPP Aviation. A 13-year-old girl from Toronto was pronounced dead on scene. 4 others were taken to a local hospital. 3 have been released. 1 was airlifted to a trauma center and is fighting for their life. Police say that one of the young survivors was wearing a personal flotation device. The adults were not.
I came home last night probably around 11:30, and the dive team was still out there. Lights were crazy. There was still tape across.
Constable Samantha Bigley says the crash involved 2 boats, each holding 3 people. One group from Toronto, the other from Oakville. The 13-year-old girl who died was in the same vessel as the woman in critical condition. Police have yet to determine a cause for the crash.
So we do try to cover all potential factors that may have influenced that outcome. We don't have any results like that at this time.
While police haven't ruled it out, residents in the area say weather didn't create any troubling water conditions.
They're also working to see if alcohol was a factor in this situation and say that if anybody witnessed anything or has any security footage, to please come forward. Dale Benukduk, CBC News, Muskoka.
GTA Police Services teamed up with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency to take down local crime groups they allege have ties to an international drug trafficking ring.
The investigative team has focused on the importation of cocaine from Colombia
and the Caribbean. And through that investigation, they discovered several other criminal activities carried out by the organized crime groups involved.
Police say more than 400 officers were involved in the raids across the GTA last week. Investigators say they seized nearly 100 kilograms of cocaine, along with methamphetamine and hundreds of kilos of cannabis. The investigation, called Project Southam, took 15 months. 22 people are now facing 139 charges. A 40-year-old man from Cambridge appeared in court today for what police are calling a hate crime that targeted members of Hamilton's Muslim community. Police say the driver used anti-Muslim slurs and threats after almost hitting 2 women with a vehicle. The women, a mother and her adult daughter, were wearing hijabs and have been identified as the family of an imam at a Hamilton mosque. They weren't hurt in the incident. In a statement, the family says they are shaken but unbroken. Last month, 4 members of the Absal family were run down and killed by a pickup truck in London in what police say was a deliberate attack targeting them for their Muslim faith. A 20-year-old man is facing terrorism and murder charges. A mosque in Cambridge has been vandalized in what is being called an act of hate. The Baitul Karim Mosque was broken into yesterday afternoon. Officials say Islamic literature was targeted and dozens of boxes filled with books and flyers were destroyed. It's estimated the damage and stolen property amounts to tens of thousands of dollars. Waterloo police are now investigating.
Windows.
We go back to Barrie now, where a tornado touched down this afternoon at around 2:30. At least 8 people were injured, 4 sustaining serious injuries. CBC News cameras caught up with John Brassard earlier. He's the Conservative MP for Barrie-Innisfil. He spoke to us from one of the hard-hit areas in the city.
Looks like the tornado took a swath, and you can actually see the path that it took. At least a kilometer in the area that I'm in right now. And the tornado actually started near my office, which is another kilometer that way. You can see the damage as we were coming up here, but the damage is at least a kilometer going towards the east. There's houses that have come off their foundation. Obviously, lots of roofs that have been blown off. You know, there's a barbecue in the front yard over here. I've seen trampolines in people's pools, so the damage is quite devastating.
Here in the city, some heavy downpours this evening. Things have since calmed down quite a bit. It will remain partly cloudy overnight. Currently, it's 22 degrees in downtown Toronto. Let's go back to Nick now with a more detailed look at the forecast. And Nick, we saw a lot of severe weather today. What can we expect looking ahead?
Well, Kelda, we're looking at some relief in the forecast, both in terms of the severe weather, but also in terms of the temperatures and humidity as well. Our weather headlines there. Severe weather comes to an end as we head through tonight and tomorrow. Relief on the way from the humidity and the heat as well, but it will be a wet start to the weekend, and we're going to get to that right now. So here is a look at our forecast as we head into tomorrow morning. Generally by tomorrow morning, it's clear. There's slight chance you'll see a few spotty showers in the early morning. Another sort of wave in this system pushing through southwestern Ontario tomorrow and in the afternoon. It'll touch Hamilton down towards St. Catharines very likely through the afternoon, but it's really not until the late evening, sort of mid to late evening hours tomorrow where it moves through the GTA. And then Saturday, pretty much a wet day for the most part as that system pushes across, clears out by Saturday night, and Sunday generally just looking at some cloud cover. Likely see some sunshine in there as well on Sunday. Forecast-wise for tonight, southwestern Ontario, still the risk for some thunderstorms. Most of it, though, happening tomorrow. So that's isolated in nature tonight. Tomorrow, though, we've got thunder showers in extreme southwestern Ontario, more in the way of showers out toward the London area. Highs to 24 degrees, notably cooler and less humid tomorrow. Same story for the Golden Horseshoe, 18, 19 degrees as we move through tonight. Thunder showers are clearing out of the region. And then as we head through tomorrow, really just cloud cover. Some spotty showers down around Hamilton, St. Catharines area. And as we head into tomorrow evening and Saturday, more in the way of rainfall that's going to move through. Saturday looks to be about 10 to 20 millimeters of rain there. Sunday should generally be dry and not looking too bad as we head through Monday and Tuesday. Kelda.
Thanks, Nick. One lucky Lotto Max winner in York Region was handed a big check today for $65 million. We spoke to Jansen Ng about his last-minute ticket purchase and what he plans to do with all that cash.
I wasn't really quite sure. I was like, is this a weird daydream? Am I like asleep? July 6th? Well, actually, I was just out and about playing Pokemon Go, as a lot of people do during lockdown. And I happened to be noticed a gas station nearby while it was close to the deadline, 10:30. So I was like, oh, hey, I still have a few minutes. So I went bought my ticket. Just managed to make it in time with a minute and 30 seconds left to go. Did a nice little quick pick, one line, $5. I heard about this like $65 million winner in York Region. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I never thought it could be me. And then it wasn't until Friday I was out with, and just happened to be going by a gas station. And once again, it was getting close to that time. So I was thinking, oh, hey, maybe I should check my lottery tickets. I went into the station, had a bunch of tickets, was scanning them. A couple of them weren't winners. Was a little bummed about that. And then one of them kind of said, it beeped and it said, please see retailer. So I went to see the retailer and I told him, hey, I think the machine might be busted. I keep saying to come see you. I asked him to scan it. For some reason, he couldn't scan it. So, I couldn't really verify at that time. I just left and went home. And got on an iPad and just started to use the OLG app to scan it instead, because I was kind of curious, if I actually won something. And it flashed on the screen, big winner. And it posts right there, $65 million. And I remember just being kind of, in disbelief, right? Because most people kind of dream about winning the lottery, kind of dream about what it'd be like. So I had to scan it again, check it again, it came up. Yeah, I was just really overwhelmed with gratefulness. But I see this really as a responsibility. I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to do the same things. I'm still going to be the guy who donates blood every 2 months. I'm still going to be the guy who cuts his own hair. So going to just, not let this change me, but just, do good things. That's the hope.
And that's our show for you tonight. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Chris Glover has you covered at 11. Have a great night, everyone.